First, I want to say a big congratulations to Max Verstappen and Red Bull. As much crap as I give you guys pulled it out. You guys had an amazing year, a dominant year. Max Verstappen has broken so many records this year, and as much as I don't like to admit it, he is in fact the best driver in Formula One as of right now. But enough about this year. Let's look at next year. (2024) is, in my opinion, going to be an entertaining year. Now, obviously, I think Red Bull is going to dominate, but what about the other 9 teams on the grid? Where do I have them ranked? Where do I have them placed? And starting at number 10, I have Haas, and it's a pretty simple reason. And it's for the same reason why they finished in last place this year. Haas's car, first and foremost, is not a good car. Whatever they did with the engineering, it's not working. Pair that with the inconsistencies of their second driver in Kevin Magnussen, you have a team that, in my opinion, is going to finish last yet again. Nico Hülkenberg, you came into this year swinging. You finished in front of Kevin Magnussen, which I don't think anyone was expecting you to do. And I think you're going to do it again next year. I think you're going to see Nico Hülkenberg be a force to be reckoned with towards the back of the grid. At number 9, I have Alfa Romeo. This is a team that also finished 9th place this year. So the bottom 2 teams have not changed. Haas is at 10, Alfa Romeo at 9. And it's a very simple reason, and it's the same reason as Haas. The car. Valtteri Bottas is a fantastic veteran who's been in this business for years, and Guan Yu Zhou, in my opinion, is a very talented young rookie, or not even a rookie, he's in his second year. But when he came in, he was even a talented young rookie, picking up Formula One and being shown the ropes by his teammate. In my opinion, you're going to see Valtteri Bottas start falling off. I think he started his fall off this year, and I think you're just going to see it progress to be worse. And that's also why I think Guan Yu Zhou is going to finish ahead of Bottas in 2024. Guan Yu Zhou is picking up the car. He's getting the experience that he needs, and I think that in 2024 he's going to capitalize on that, and he's going to beat Bottas in the team matchup in 2024. Now on to number 8. I have Alpine, and this one might shock some of you because Alpine finished 6th this year, and they're very hopeful about next year. I like the team. I like the car. I like the drivers. I think Esteban Ocon and Pierre Gasly are 2 excellent drivers. Here's where our issue is. There's a lot of ownership things that are happening. Over this past season, there have been multiple people and multiple famous people buying up stakes in Alpine, taking up ownership percentages within Alpine. While this may not be an issue to some of you, I see it as a big issue. I think if you have too many hands in the pot, eventually you're going to get a conflict of interest somewhere, and it's going to develop into a drama within the ownership, which is going to ultimately affect the team. And I think that's why you're going to see Alpine drop to number 8 as opposed to even moving up higher than 6th. Now, don't get me wrong, I think Pierre Gasly and Ocon are 2 of the best drivers on the grid right now, especially as a pairing. I think they do very well, but I don't see Alpine getting better, especially with potential drama within the ownership. Number 7, I have AlphaTauri, and last year, or this previous year, or whatever you want to call it, 2023, this season, they were ranked 8th, so I have them moving up 1 place into 7th, and it's a very obvious reason here. You have Yuki Tsunoda, who started out the season, and he finished it, but you also had his teammates, and I say teammates with an S because he had multiple. He had Nick DeVries at the start of the season, and they had him up until the middle. He just was not cutting it. He was dropped for Daniel Ricciardo, and then we moved on from Daniel Ricciardo after he got hurt in the Dutch Grand Prix to Liam Lawson, who took his place until Ricciardo recovered. But now you have 2 consistent drivers on the team, not just 1, but 2 consistent drivers on the grid. You have Yuki Tsunoda, and now you have Daniel Ricciardo with a full 2024 contract. And I think that's what that's going to do, is it's going to create consistency, and that's what AlphaTauri needed, was consistency. Yuki Tsunoda had a really good year. He finished, I believe, with 27 points to his name. And Daniel Ricciardo might have finished with more or less, but he definitely would have finished with a really good amount of points, provided he started from the beginning of the year. I say all of that to say that this pairing has everything you need in a team. You have Daniel Ricciardo's experience as well as his kind of lighthearted attitude paired with a young, fiery, hot, kind of a hot-headed driver in Yuki Tsunoda. And I say hot-headed not necessarily as in an arrogant sense, but someone who likes to let his emotions come out and let his feelings come out, especially while he's racing. And so you kind of have the calm, cool collective paired with the hot shot, if you will. And I think you're going to see that pairing do something really good for AlphaTauri. I think you're going to see them improve and maybe even higher than 7th place. That's right, number 6, I have Williams Racing. I'm representing because my boy Logan Sargent finished the year with 1 point. 1 point, just 1 point. He got 1 point this year. I'm so happy, okay. Logan Sargent came into the year as a rookie, and I was speculative about him. I really didn't know what to think about him, and I was kind of right because he would have finished the year with 0 points had Hamilton and Leclerc not been disqualified from the Austin Grand Prix in Texas. Had they not been disqualified, he would have finished with 0, but he got 1 point from that because of that. Alexander Albon, the lead driver for Williams, finished the year strong, got the team up to 7th last year, and I think he's going to improve even more, bring them up to this year. Not to mention they have the new team principal in James Vowles. He took that role this year and he turned a last place team into a 7th place team. So I really think that you're going to see that happen again. You're going to see James Vowles make moves in the offseason, and you're going to see him turn a 7th place team into a 6th place team, or maybe even higher than that. But I have them at 6th only because I don't think that I think Sargent is going to improve, but I don't think he's going to improve so much that they're going to hit 5th or 4th. So I really think that Sargent is going to improve and he's going to have a good year next year, but I don't see them still scoring enough points to get into the top 5. Aston Martin finished the year in 5th, and I think they're going to finish next year in 5th. And this one is pretty simple. Aston Martin at the beginning of the year started out with a couple of podiums. They had a couple of really good things going for them. And then somewhere mid-season, towards like middle to the beginning of the end of season, they just started to fall apart for some reason. And it was really difficult to figure out why were they falling apart. What was happening in the behind the scenes to where, Fernando Alonso was getting podiums and top 5 finishes, and, Stroll was even getting some top 10 finishes, to where Stroll was getting some bottom 10 finishes and some, maybe a really low top 10, 9th or 10th. And Fernando Alonso was getting finishes that were in the lower of the top 10. Now, they seem to pick it back up towards the end of the year, and I think that they'll carry that through. But I don't really see them excelling or exceeding 5th place. I think that they are truly the middle team within the 10 teams in Formula One. I don't see them improving, or I don't see them also, I don't see them struggling either. So I really think that they're just a solid, 5th place team. Talking about how Red Bull made F1 boring, I did mention my top 4 very briefly, but I want to dive into it a little bit deeper. At number 4, I have Mercedes, and this year they finished in 2nd. I don't see them finishing in the top 3 next year. I think they're going to be in 4th. And here's why. I really see a repeat of Hamilton versus Rosberg. But now the difference between Hamilton and Rosberg and Hamilton and Russell is the car. In 2016, they were fighting for the title. Next year, I don't see the car being as good as Mercedes says that it's going to be. The W14 was bad. It was really bad. I just don't see the team improving it so much to where it's a championship contender, especially not against a team like Red Bull. I don't think the car is going to be I don't think it's going to be as good as they say it's going to be. But then 2, I also think that Hamilton and Russell are, I don't see this pairing working. Russell was inconsistent this year. His inconsistencies and some of his DNFs and whatnot will result in him wanting to try harder, and it's going to make him improve next year. So you're going to see a better, in my opinion, you're going to see a better George Russell driving, and you're going to see a Hamilton that is sick and tired of losing. What does that make? 2 drivers that are going to be fighting over positions constantly, and in the past, how you've seen it is when teammates start fighting over stuff, somebody crashes, someone loses position, and the team suffers. And that's why I think Mercedes is going to go into 4th. Number 3, I have Ferrari, and they haven't changed, they haven't moved. I see them being number 3 next year just as much as they were number 3 this year. Ferrari has been known to have bad strategy over these last couple of years, and I see that moving forward into next year. Do they have what it takes to maybe take 2nd place? Absolutely. Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz are, in my opinion, top 6, 7 drivers out of the 20. They have 2 fantastic drivers. Fred Vasseur came in from Alfa Romeo to take the team principal position this year, and he will remain team principal next year. And I think that, a very similar situation to how I said James Vowles came in with Williams and turned that team around. I really think that's what Fred Vasseur is going to do, but I think he's going to need more time, which is going to result in Ferrari getting a 3rd place finish, kind of staying stagnant next year. They might pull out a win or 2, but I definitely don't see them competing for the championship, especially especially with Red Bull being up there, having a hard compete for 2nd place, especially when the car's improvements have been just little improvements and little refinements to make the car more effective and quicker. That brings me on to number 2, McLaren. I think McLaren is going to jump from 4th place, where they were this year. I think they're going to jump from 4th and move all the way up to 2nd place behind the best of the best, which is Red Bull. When McLaren started the year, they were kind of the opposite of Aston. They were finishing bottom 10 a lot, especially towards the start of the year. But as the season progressed, you saw improvement. You saw the car evolve. Lando Norris has 7 podiums this year, and a majority of those podiums came from beginning of mid-season towards the end of this season. You saw Oscar Piastri not just get a podium, but also a sprint race win. Had that been an actual race that he'd won, he would have won one of the 2 races that Red Bull didn't win. You have 2 really good drivers in Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri. What McLaren did to get Piastri away from Alpine, away from Renault, in my opinion, was the best decision McLaren could have made. And not to hate on Daniel Ricciardo, I don't hate on him, but he wasn't the fit for the team. And that's not even me hating on him, it's just me saying it how it is. He was not the best fit for McLaren. McLaren saw that. They paid him out his contract, and they said, you can go do whatever. They got Piastri. They got another young driver to get paired along Lando Norris, and that duo has been something to watch. And I think that you're going to see McLaren's upgrades take them higher than 4th. You're going to see them in the top 3 next year, and I really think you're going to see Lando Norris or Oscar Piastri get maybe one of their first race wins. There always must be a champion, and I think next year it's still going to be Red Bull. That's right, Red Bull is going to win the title next year. That's my prediction, and I think honestly, it's a prediction that I think every F1 YouTuber has made because of how dominant they are. And I said in my previous video about how they stopped developing their car, 3/4 of the way through the season. Like I said in the previous video, Christian Horner, who is a team principal, has said that the next year's car is going to essentially be the same car with improvements, which means it's going to be even better than last year's car. What that means is Max Verstappen is probably going to win his 4th title in a row and put him up there with Vettel. It puts him up there with Sebastian Vettel. Sergio Perez is a driver who I have tons of respect for, and he is seasoned, he's experienced, and he definitely has what it takes to win races. He's won races, he won races last year, and I think you're gonna see him do it maybe, probably once or twice again next year. But I say all that to say, Red Bull's going to be the team to beat next year, and I think Ferrari and McLaren are the 2 teams that have the best chance at beating them, which is why I have them at 2 and 3. So, with all that being said, what do you guys think? Do you guys think that Williams is going to move even further up the grid? Do you think Sargent is going to improve? Do you see Alpine dropping lower because of potential ownership conflict? Or do you see Ferrari or McLaren maybe even challenging Red Bull even harder than what they expect? Let us know what you guys think in the comments. I love y'all. God bless. Peace.